The Vanguard glided silently through the infinite expanse of space, its sleek form cutting through the void like a knife through velvet. Stars glittered like distant jewels, indifferent to the struggles and triumphs of the beings that ventured among them. On board the Vanguard, a team of humanity's brightest minds worked tirelessly, unaware that their next discovery would alter the fabric of time itself. Dr. Evelyn Carter, a brilliant and determined scientist, stood at the observation deck, her gaze fixed on the mesmerizing beauty of the cosmos. Her thoughts, however, were far from the serenity of the view. The crew had picked up unusual readings from a previously uncharted planet, a world they had tentatively named Helios Prime. The data suggested the presence of an ancient, highly advanced technology buried beneath its surface. "Dr. Carter, we have entered the orbit of Helios Prime," announced Captain Jorin, his voice steady and authoritative. Evelyn turned to face him, her mind already racing with possibilities. "Prepare the landing team, Captain. We need to investigate those readings immediately," she replied, her tone leaving no room for hesitation. As the Vanguard descended through the atmosphere, the planet's surface came into view. Helios Prime was a world of stark contrasts. Vast deserts of shimmering sand gave way to towering mountains and lush, alien forests. The landing site, however, was a barren plain, dominated by a massive, ancient structure that defied conventional understanding. The structure was a monolithic cube, its surface etched with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change when viewed from different angles. As Evelyn and her team approached, they could feel a hum of energy in the air, a vibration that resonated deep within their bones. Dr. Shaw, set up the scanning equipment. "I want a complete analysis of this structure," Evelyn ordered, her eyes never leaving the enigmatic cube. Dr. Elena Shaw, the team's chief engineer, nodded and began deploying the advanced scanning devices they had brought. The air was thick with anticipation as the team waited for the initial results. Minutes felt like hours until finally, the scanners beeped in unison. "Evelyn, you're going to want to see this," Elena called out, her voice tinged with awe. Evelyn hurried over, her heart pounding. The scans revealed an intricate network of tunnels and chambers within the cube, each one pulsing with an energy signature unlike anything they had ever encountered. This is extraordinary," Evelyn whispered, her eyes wide with wonder. "We need to get inside." The entrance to the cube was a seamless door that opened with a mere touch, responding to some unseen force. Inside, the air was cool and dry, and the walls glowed with a soft, ethereal light. The team moved cautiously, their footsteps echoing in the vast, empty corridors. As they ventured deeper, they came upon a central chamber, dominated by a massive, circular device that hummed with latent power. Symbols and runes adorned its surface, telling a story lost to time. "This must be the source of the energy readings," Elena said, her voice hushed. "It's like nothing I've ever seen before." Evelyn approached the device, her fingers brushing lightly against its surface. As she did, the device sprang to life, emitting a low hum that grew steadily louder. The symbols on its surface began to glow, and the room was bathed in an otherworldly light. "Everyone, stand back," Evelyn commanded, her voice rising above the growing noise. The device's hum reached a crescendo, and with a blinding flash, a portal opened before them. The air crackled with energy, and the team could see glimpses of otherworldly landscapes through the shimmering veil. This is a portal," Elena breathed, her eyes wide with disbelief. "It's a gateway to other dimensions." Evelyn's mind raced with possibilities. The portal represented an unprecedented opportunity for discovery, but also an unimaginable risk. They had no idea what lay on the other side or the consequences of stepping through. "We need to proceed with extreme caution," Evelyn said, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. "We have to understand what we're dealing with." As they prepared to step through the portal, each member of the team felt a mix of fear and excitement. They were about to venture into the unknown, to confront the mysteries of the universe head-on. "Ready, everyone?" Evelyn asked, her eyes scanning the faces of her team. They nodded, determination etched into their features. With a deep breath, Evelyn stepped through the portal, followed closely by Elena and the rest of the team. The transition was instantaneous, and they found themselves standing on an alien landscape, the air heavy with the scent of unfamiliar flora. The sky was a deep, swirling purple, and strange, luminescent plants dotted the landscape. In the distance, they could see towering structures that seemed to defy the laws of physics, their forms shifting and changing as if they were alive. "This place, it's incredible," Elena whispered, her eyes wide with wonder. "But we need to stay focused. We don't know what dangers might be here." As they explored the new world, they encountered creatures unlike anything they had ever seen. Some were beautiful, their forms delicate and ethereal, while others were terrifying, their eyes gleaming with malevolent intelligence. The team's journey through the alien landscape was both awe-inspiring and harrowing. They collected samples, took detailed notes, and recorded their observations. But as they delved deeper into the mysteries of the new world, they began to notice strange anomalies, objects that seemed out of place, temporal distortions that made their watches run backwards. Evelyn's mind raced as she tried to piece together the puzzle. These anomalies, they're evidence of a temporal disturbance. The portal must be affecting the flow of time here. The realization brought a new sense of urgency to their mission. They needed to understand the nature of the portal and the temporal anomalies it was causing before they could safely return to their own time. Days turned into weeks as they navigated the challenges of the alien world. The team grew closer, their bond forged in the crucible of shared adversity. They faced dangers together, celebrated discoveries, and mourned the loss of comrades who had fallen to the perils of the unknown. Throughout it all, Evelyn remained focused on their mission. She knew that the fate of humanity, and perhaps the entire universe, rested on their ability to understand and control the portal. In the end, it was a breakthrough in their understanding of the portal's mechanics that provided the key to solving the temporal anomalies. By recalibrating the device and synchronizing it with the natural temporal flow of the alien world, they were able to stabilize the portal and prevent further distortions. With the portal stabilized, the team prepared to return home. They had gathered invaluable data and made discoveries that would revolutionize humanity's understanding of the universe. But they also knew that their journey was far from over. As they stepped back through the portal and emerged into the familiar surroundings of the Vanguard, they were greeted with cheers and applause. They had succeeded against all odds, and their triumph was a testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity. The hum of the Vanguard was a constant reminder of the delicate balance they maintained. Evelyn and her team prepared for their next journey, the anticipation palpable. They had delved into their past and witnessed the pivotal moments that had shaped their timeline. Now, it was time to confront the future, a future that was as uncertain as it was terrifying. The temporal coordinates were set, and the portal device glowed with a steady, pulsating light. The team stood ready, their minds focused on the task ahead. Evelyn felt a mix of excitement and trepidation as she stepped forward, her thoughts racing with possibilities. "Everyone, remember to stay close and be vigilant," she instructed, her voice steady despite the underlying tension. "We have no idea what we might encounter on the other side." With a collective breath, they stepped through the portal, the familiar sensation of displacement washing over them. The transition was instantaneous, and they found themselves standing in a world that was both familiar and alien. The sky was a deep, swirling crimson, and the air was thick with a strange, metallic tang. The landscape was a twisted reflection of their own world, with towering structures that seemed to defy gravity and logic. The ground beneath their feet was cracked and scarred, as if the very fabric of reality had been torn asunder. "This place, it feels like it's on the brink of collapse," Elena murmured, her eyes wide with awe and fear. "The temporal anomalies here are far more pronounced than what we observed in the past." Evelyn nodded, her mind racing as she took in the surreal landscape. "We need to understand what's causing this. The future of our timeline may depend on it." As they ventured deeper into the fractured future, they encountered signs of a once thriving civilization now teetering on the edge of extinction. The buildings were crumbling, their surfaces covered in strange, luminescent growths that pulsed with a sickly light. The streets were eerily silent, devoid of any signs of life. "Dr. Shaw, start taking readings," Evelyn instructed, her voice hushed. "We need to gather as much data as possible." Elena nodded, her equipment whirring as she began her scans. "The energy readings here are off the charts. It's as if this entire world is saturated with temporal instability." As they moved through the desolate city, they came upon a large structure that seemed to be the epicenter of the anomalies. It was a massive, imposing edifice, its surface covered in shifting patterns of light and shadow. The air around it crackled with energy, and the ground trembled with each step they took. "This must be it," Evelyn said, her voice barely audible. "The source of the temporal distortions." They approached the structure cautiously, their senses heightened. The air was thick with a palpable tension, as if the very fabric of reality was straining against the forces at play. Inside, they found a cavernous chamber filled with an array of advanced technology. The walls were lined with machines that hummed with a strange, rhythmic pulse, their surfaces covered in intricate symbols and runes. Elena's eyes widened as she took in the sight. "This technology, it's far beyond anything we've ever encountered. It's like a fusion of science and magic." Evelyn nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. "We need to understand how this works. If we can stabilize the temporal anomalies here, we might be able to prevent them from affecting our timeline." As they began their investigation, they encountered a figure standing in the shadows. He was tall and imposing, his features obscured by the flickering light. "Who are you?" Evelyn demanded, her voice steady despite the unease that crept over her. The figure stepped forward, revealing a face that was hauntingly familiar. It was an older version of Alex, his eyes filled with a mixture of sorrow and determination. "I am you, from a future that should never have been," he said, his voice heavy with regret. "I am here to help you prevent the mistakes that led to the collapse of this timeline." Evelyn felt a chill run down her spine. What happened here? The older Alex sighed, his shoulders slumping. "We made a series of catastrophic decisions, each one leading to a chain reaction of events that tore the fabric of reality apart. The temporal anomalies you have observed are the result of our attempts to undo those mistakes." He gestured to the machines around them. These devices were a last-ditch effort to stabilize the timeline, but they only made things worse. The energy they generate is too unstable, too unpredictable. Evelyn's mind raced as she processed the information. "So, the only way to prevent this future is to stop these machines from ever being built." The older Alex nodded. "Yes. But it's not just about the machines. It's about the choices we make, the paths we take. Every decision has consequences, and we must be mindful of them." As they worked together to dismantle the machines, Evelyn felt a sense of urgency and clarity. The future of their timeline depended on their actions, and they had to be meticulous in their approach. The process was arduous, each step fraught with danger. The machines resisted their efforts, their energy surging unpredictably. But with the guidance of the older Alex, they made progress, slowly but surely. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they succeeded in shutting down the last of the machines. The air around them grew still, and the ground ceased its trembling. "We did it," Elena breathed, her voice filled with relief and exhaustion. "The temporal anomalies are stabilizing." The older Alex smiled, a hint of hope in his eyes. "You have done well. But remember, the future is always in flux. It is up to you to ensure that this timeline remains stable." As they prepared to return to their own time, Evelyn felt a sense of resolve. They had faced the fractured future and emerged victorious, but their journey was far from over. The transition back to the present was smooth, the familiar surroundings of the Vanguard a welcome sight. The team was exhausted but filled with a renewed sense of purpose. "We've made significant progress," Evelyn said, her voice steady. "But there are still more pivotal moments we need to explore. The future of our timeline depends on it." The team nodded, their determination unwavering. They knew that the challenges ahead would be immense, but they were ready to face them, together. As they prepared for their next mission, Evelyn couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of a monumental discovery. The mysteries of the universe lay before them, and they were determined to uncover them all, no matter the cost. The Vanguard floated silently in the vast expanse of space, its mission far from over. Evelyn and her team, though weary, were resolute in their determination to stabilize their timeline. Each discovery brought them closer to understanding the intricate web of events that shaped their reality. Elena Shaw, ever diligent, had been analyzing the data from their previous journey. "Evelyn, the next anomaly is centered around a decision made during the early stages of our exploration of Helios Prime. This moment appears to have had a profound impact on our timeline." Evelyn nodded, her mind racing. "We'll need to be extremely careful." If we can correct this event, it might bring us closer to resolving the anomalies. The portal device hummed to life, its energy pulsing with anticipation. The team prepared for another leap through time, their minds focused on the task ahead. As they stepped through the shimmering portal, the familiar sensation of temporal displacement washed over them, depositing them into a world that was both alien and eerily familiar. They found themselves in a cityscape, a twisted reflection of their own reality. The sky was a tumultuous swirl of colors, casting an otherworldly glow over the landscape. Buildings stood as crumbling monuments to a once thriving civilization, now teetering on the brink of collapse. These anomalies are far more severe here, Elena observed, her voice tinged with awe and concern. The temporal instability is palpable. Evelyn surveyed the scene, her heart heavy with the weight of their mission. We need to find the source of this instability and understand what caused it. Dr. Shaw began taking readings. Elena's equipment hummed softly as she gathered data, her brow furrowed in concentration. The epicenter appears to be a central structure, heavily fortified and emitting high levels of temporal energy. As they made their way through the desolate city, the team encountered signs of a civilization in distress. The streets were empty, the silence punctuated only by the distant rumble of collapsing buildings. The air was thick with a sense of impending doom. Upon reaching the central structure, they found it heavily guarded. Evelyn's heart sank as she recognized the emblem of an authoritarian regime. "This must be where the critical event occurred," she whispered. "We need to find a way inside." Using their advanced technology, the team managed to bypass the security systems and gain entry. Inside, they discovered a command center, bustling with activity. At the heart of the room stood a younger version of Evelyn, locked in a heated debate with her superiors. "We cannot proceed with this plan," the younger Evelyn argued, her voice filled with conviction. "The risks are too great. We must find another way." Her superiors, however, were resolute. "This is our only option. We must take control of the situation, or we risk losing everything." Evelyn watched the exchange, her mind racing. This was the moment that had shaped their future. The decision made here had set off a chain reaction of events that had led to the temporal instability they now faced. "We need to find a way to influence this decision," Evelyn murmured. "If we can change the outcome, we might be able to stabilize the timeline." As they observed, the room suddenly filled with a low, resonant hum. The temporal device at the center of the command room began to pulse with energy, its glow growing steadily brighter. "Evelyn, the device is reacting to the temporal anomaly," Elena warned. "We need to act quickly." The team moved with precision, their objective clear. Elena focused on gathering data while Evelyn and the others worked to understand the mechanics of the temporal device. The air was thick with tension as they navigated the delicate balance of altering the past without causing further disruption. Just as the situation reached its peak, the younger Evelyn made her stand. "We must consider the long-term consequences. We cannot afford to take shortcuts. I propose an alternative approach." Her words resonated through the room, causing a ripple of uncertainty among her superiors. As the debate continued, the temporal device emitted a sharp pulse of energy, destabilizing the already fragile timeline. "Evelyn, we need to stabilize the device now," Elena shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. With a final, desperate effort, Evelyn and her team managed to recalibrate the device. The energy pulse subsided, and the room returned to a state of calm. The younger Evelyn's proposal was accepted, setting in motion a new course of action. The team watched as the decision played out, the new plan taking effect. The city's authoritarian grip began to loosen, and hope flickered in the eyes of its inhabitants. The temporal anomalies started to diminish, their severity lessening with each passing moment. Back on the Vanguard, the team reviewed the data they had gathered. The corrective action had stabilized the temporal flow, preventing the catastrophic future they had glimpsed. They had succeeded in altering a pivotal moment, securing a more stable timeline. Elena looked up from her console, her eyes bright with excitement. "We've made significant progress. The anomalies are decreasing, but there are still a few more we need to address." Evelyn nodded, her resolve unwavering. "We need to continue our work. Each step brings us closer to securing our future." The team prepared for their next mission, their determination strengthened by their recent success. They knew the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but they were ready to face whatever lay ahead. As they stepped through the portal once more, Evelyn felt a surge of hope. The future was theirs to shape, and with each mission, they were building a legacy that would endure for generations to come. The Vanguard floated serenely in the depths of space, its crew ready for their next mission. Each anomaly they corrected brought them closer to stabilizing their timeline, but the journey was far from over. The data collected from their previous expeditions had revealed a web of interconnected events, each influencing the other in a delicate dance of cause and effect. Evelyn stood at the central console, her fingers tapping rhythmically against the surface. The holographic display before her flickered with streams of data, each line a potential clue to the mysteries they sought to unravel. "Dr. Shaw, have you pinpointed the next critical event?" Evelyn asked, her voice steady but laced with urgency. Elena nodded, her eyes glued to the display. "Yes, the data suggests a significant anomaly centered around a pivotal decision made during the first contact with the Heliosians. This could be the key to stabilizing the temporal fluctuations." The room buzzed with a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. First contact with an alien civilization had been a landmark moment in human history, fraught with tension and uncertainty. Any misstep during this mission could ripple through time, altering the course of their future irrevocably. As the team prepared to step through the portal once more, Evelyn's mind raced with possibilities. The stakes were higher than ever, but so was their resolve. The familiar sensation of displacement washed over them as they emerged into a scene of controlled chaos. The Vanguard's crew had gathered in a makeshift conference room, their faces tense with anticipation. On the other side of the room, the Heliosian delegation stood, their expressions inscrutable. Evelyn recognized the moment immediately. This was the critical juncture where humanity and the Heliosians had navigated the delicate dance of diplomacy, forging a fragile alliance that had shaped the future of both species. "Dr. Carter, we need to stay hidden and observe," Elena whispered, her eyes scanning the room for a suitable vantage point. They found a secluded corner, their presence masked by the shadows. Evelyn watched as her younger self, confident yet cautious, addressed the Heliosian leader. "Esteemed representatives of Helios Prime, we come in peace and with the hope of mutual understanding and cooperation," the younger Evelyn said, her voice steady but tinged with the weight of history. The Heliosian leader, a tall figure with luminescent eyes, responded in a melodious tone. "We welcome your overtures, but we must also express our concerns. Your technology poses risks to the delicate balance of our world." The conversation continued, revealing the complexities and nuances of the negotiation. Evelyn's heart pounded as she listened, knowing that the slightest misstep could unravel the fragile peace they had worked so hard to achieve. As the discussion reached a critical point, the air shimmered with a familiar energy. The portal device, hidden in the corner of the room, began to pulse with an erratic rhythm. "Evelyn, look!" Elena whispered urgently. "The device is reacting to the temporal anomaly." Evelyn's mind raced. They needed to understand the source of the disruption and stabilize it before it could jeopardize the negotiation. She turned to her team, her eyes filled with determination. "We need to get closer," she said. "Elena, see if you can get a reading on the device. Maya, cover us." They moved with practiced precision, their movements silent and deliberate. As they approached the device, Elena's equipment hummed softly, gathering data on the temporal fluctuations. "The readings are off the charts," Elena murmured, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It's as if the device is amplifying the temporal anomalies." Evelyn's mind raced with possibilities. If they could stabilize the device, they might be able to prevent the anomalies from affecting the negotiation. But it was a delicate operation, one that required both precision and speed. "Maya, keep an eye on the room." "We can't afford to be discovered," Evelyn instructed, her focus unwavering. Maya nodded, her eyes scanning the room for any signs of movement. "Got it. Just hurry." As Elena worked to stabilize the device, Evelyn watched the decision-making process unfold. The younger Evelyn and the Heliosian leader were locked in a tense exchange, their words laden with implications. "We understand your concerns, and we are committed to ensuring that our technology does not pose a threat to your world," the younger Evelyn said, her voice firm yet conciliatory. The Heliosian leader regarded her with a thoughtful expression. Your words are reassuring, but actions speak louder. We need concrete assurances. Just as the tension reached its peak, the portal device emitted a sharp pulse of energy, and the room seemed to warp and twist. Evelyn felt a strange sensation, as if she were being pulled in multiple directions at once. "Elena, what's happening?" she shouted, her voice barely audible over the cacophony of noise. Elena's fingers flew over the controls. "The device is destabilizing. We need to shut it down now." With a final, desperate effort, Elena managed to deactivate the device. The air shimmered, and the temporal distortions began to subside. The room gradually returned to its normal state, the tension dissipating like mist in the morning sun. The negotiation continued, the younger Evelyn and the Heliosian leader unaware of the crisis that had just been averted. As the discussion drew to a close, they reached an agreement that would lay the foundation for future cooperation and peace. Evelyn felt a sense of relief and pride as she watched the scene unfold. They had managed to stabilize the anomaly and ensure that the pivotal moment remained intact. Back on the Vanguard, the team reviewed the data they had gathered. The temporal fluctuations had been caused by the portal device's interaction with the critical moment of first contact. By stabilizing the device, they had prevented the anomalies from disrupting the timeline. "This is a significant breakthrough," Elena said, her eyes shining with excitement. "We've proven that we can influence and stabilize temporal events." Evelyn nodded, her mind already racing with plans for their next mission. "We need to continue our work. There are still more anomalies to investigate." The team agreed, their resolve unwavering. As they gathered their notes and equipment, Evelyn felt a surge of determination. They had faced incredible challenges and emerged stronger each time. Their mission was not just about correcting the past, but ensuring a future where humanity could thrive in harmony with their discoveries. Evelyn glanced around at her team, their faces reflecting a mix of exhaustion and resolve. Each one of them was integral to their success, their skills and dedication forming the backbone of their efforts. "Let's prepare for the next mission," Evelyn said, her voice steady. "Every step we take brings us closer to securing our timeline." The team dispersed, ready to tackle the next challenge with renewed vigor. Evelyn took a moment to gaze out at the stars, the vast expanse of space filled with both mystery and promise. The journey was far from over, but with her team by her side, she knew they would overcome any obstacle. The portal hummed with energy, a constant reminder of the path they had chosen. With each mission, they were not only correcting anomalies but building a legacy that would endure for generations to come. The Vanguard hovered silently in the boundless void, its crew preparing for their next mission with meticulous precision. Each anomaly corrected had brought them closer to stabilizing their timeline, but the latest data hinted at something far more troubling. There was an internal threat among them. Evelyn stood at the central console, her fingers tracing the holographic display. "Elena, have you identified any unusual activity that could indicate sabotage?" Elena nodded, her eyes narrowing as she examined the data. "Yes, there have been unauthorized access attempts to the portal's control systems. The codes used belong to Dr. Grant." The room fell silent. Dr. Lucas Grant was a trusted member of their team, a brilliant scientist who had played a crucial role in their mission. The idea that he could be the saboteur was almost too much to bear. "Bring him in," Evelyn said, her voice heavy with sorrow. Dr. Grant was brought into the command center, his face pale and drawn. "Evelyn, what's going on? Why am I here?" Evelyn met his gaze, her eyes hard. "Lucas, we've discovered unauthorized access attempts to the portal's control systems using your codes. Explain yourself." Grant's eyes widened in shock. I don't know what you're talking about. I would never sabotage our mission." Elena stepped forward, her voice cold. "The evidence is clear, Lucas. Someone is using your access codes to manipulate the portal settings. If it's not you, then who?" Grant's expression shifted from confusion to anger. "This is a mistake. I swear, I haven't done anything." The tension in the room was palpable as the team stared at Grant, their trust in him shattered. Evelyn struggled to maintain her composure, the weight of betrayal pressing down on her. "Lucas, if you're innocent, help us find the real saboteur," Evelyn said, her voice softer but still firm. "We need to secure the portal and prevent any further interference." Grant nodded, his resolve returning. "I'll do whatever it takes. Let's find the one responsible for this." As they reviewed the logs together, Grant pointed out several discrepancies that had been overlooked. It became clear that someone had been using his codes without his knowledge, a clever ruse to divert suspicion. Evelyn's mind raced as she pieced together the clues. The saboteur was someone with intimate knowledge of their systems and a deep understanding of temporal mechanics. But who could it be? Suddenly, a realization hit her like a bolt of lightning. "Elena, pull up the logs from the day we discovered the first anomaly. Look for any unusual activity." Elena's fingers flew over the console, her eyes scanning the data. Here it is. There was an unauthorized access attempt to the portal's core systems just before the first anomaly occurred. Evelyn's heart pounded as she saw the timestamp. Cross-reference that with the crew's locations at that time. The room fell silent as the data was processed. Moments later, the results appeared on the screen. Evelyn's eyes widened in shock. It was Maya. Maya's face twisted into a mask of fury and desperation. "You don't understand. This was never supposed to happen." Evelyn stepped forward, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and sorrow. "Why, Maya? Why would you do this?" Maya's eyes blazed with intensity. "Because our timeline is broken. I've seen the future, Evelyn. We're on a path to destruction, and the only way to fix it is to reset everything. The anomalies are a side effect, a necessary sacrifice." Evelyn's mind raced. Maya's actions, though misguided, were driven by a desire to protect their future. But her methods were reckless, endangering everything they had worked for. "You can't play with time like this," Evelyn said, her voice firm. "We need to fix the timeline, but we must do it the right way." Maya shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "It's too late. The only way to save us is to erase everything and start over." The room was filled with a tense silence as Evelyn and Maya faced off, their eyes locked in a battle of wills. "We can find another way," Evelyn insisted. "But we need to work together." Maya's shoulders slumped, her resolve crumbling. I didn't want it to come to this. I just wanted to save us." Evelyn stepped forward, placing a hand on Maya's shoulder. "We'll save our timeline, Maya. But we'll do it the right way. Together." The team worked tirelessly to secure the portal and stabilize the anomalies. With Maya's help, they uncovered new insights into the temporal fluctuations and developed a plan to prevent further disruptions. As they prepared for their final mission, Evelyn felt a sense of hope and determination. They had faced betrayal and uncertainty, but they had emerged stronger and more united. The portal hummed with a steady, controlled energy, a beacon of stability in the chaotic flow of time. Evelyn and her team were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, confident in their ability to navigate the intricate web of their timeline. Their journey was far from over, but they were prepared to see it through to the end. Together, they would protect their future and ensure that the echoes of the past did not dictate their destiny. The Vanguard drifted through the silent expanse of space, its mission nearing a critical juncture. With Maya's betrayal uncovered and her cooperation secured, Evelyn and her team were poised to confront the final anomaly threatening their timeline. The stakes had never been higher, but their resolve was unwavering. Evelyn stood at the helm, her eyes fixed on the holographic display that mapped out the critical events they had influenced. Each point of light represented a pivotal moment, a decision that had shaped their timeline. The data they had gathered suggested a pattern, a sequence of events that, if corrected, could stabilize the temporal anomalies and secure their future. "Dr. Shaw, are we ready?" Evelyn asked, her voice steady but filled with anticipation. Elena nodded, her fingers deftly manipulating the controls. "Yes, the final anomaly is centered around a critical event that took place during the early days of our colonization efforts on Helios Prime. It's an event that had far-reaching consequences for our timeline." The team gathered around the display, their faces reflecting a mix of determination and apprehension. They knew that this mission would be their most challenging yet, but they also knew that it was their best chance to secure their future. "Our objective is clear," Evelyn said, her voice firm. "We need to travel to this critical moment and ensure that the right decisions are made. Any interference could have catastrophic consequences, so we must proceed with the utmost caution." The portal device hummed with a steady, pulsating light as the team made their final preparations. The air was thick with anticipation as they stepped through the shimmering veil of energy, emerging into the past once more. They found themselves aboard the Vanguard, but in a time that felt both familiar and distant. The ship was alive with activity, its crew bustling with the excitement and determination that marked the early days of their mission. Evelyn's heart ached with nostalgia as she watched her younger self move through the ship, her face alight with the promise of discovery. But there was no time for sentimentality, they had a mission to complete. "Dr. Shaw, start taking readings," Evelyn instructed, her eyes scanning the surroundings for any signs of temporal instability. "We need to pinpoint the exact moment of the anomaly." Elena's equipment hummed softly as she gathered data, her brow furrowed in concentration. "The readings are fluctuating, but it seems the anomaly is centered around the main control room." As they made their way through the corridors of the Vanguard, Evelyn felt a sense of urgency. The main control room was the heart of the ship, where critical decisions were made and plans were set into motion. It was a place of both power and vulnerability. Inside the control room, the atmosphere was charged with tension. The crew was gathered around the central console, their faces reflecting a mix of excitement and apprehension. Evelyn recognized the scene immediately. It was the moment when they had first activated the portal device and glimpsed the vast possibilities of time travel. "We need to stay hidden and observe," Elena whispered, her eyes scanning the room for a suitable vantage point. They found a secluded corner, their presence masked by the shadows. Evelyn watched as her younger self and the other leaders discussed the activation of the portal device, their voices filled with a mix of hope and caution. "This device could open up new frontiers for us," the younger Evelyn said, her voice steady but tinged with excitement. "But we must proceed with caution. We don't fully understand the implications of tampering with time." The other leaders nodded in agreement, their faces reflecting the weight of their responsibility. "We need to ensure that we have safeguards in place," one of them said. "The potential for unintended consequences is too great." As the discussion continued, the air shimmered with a familiar energy. The portal device, hidden in the corner of the room, began to pulse with an erratic rhythm. "Evelyn, look!" Elena whispered urgently. "The device is reacting to the temporal anomaly." Evelyn's mind raced. They needed to understand the source of the disruption and stabilize it before it could jeopardize the mission. She turned to her team, her eyes filled with determination. "We need to get closer," she said. "Elena, see if you can get a reading on the device. Maya, cover us." They moved with practiced precision, their movements silent and deliberate. As they approached the device, Elena's equipment hummed softly, gathering data on the temporal fluctuations. "The readings are off the charts," Elena murmured, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It's as if the device is amplifying the temporal anomalies." Evelyn's mind raced with possibilities. If they could stabilize the device, they might be able to prevent the anomalies from affecting the mission. But it was a delicate operation, one that required both precision and speed. "Maya, keep an eye on the room." "We can't afford to be discovered," Evelyn instructed, her focus unwavering. Maya nodded, her eyes scanning the room for any signs of movement. "Got it. Just hurry." As Elena worked to stabilize the device, Evelyn watched the decision-making process unfold. The younger Evelyn and the other leaders were locked in a tense exchange, their words laden with implications. "We must prioritize safety and control," the younger Evelyn insisted. "If we don't, we risk creating a temporal disaster." The leaders nodded in agreement, their faces reflecting the weight of their responsibility. "Very well," one of them said. "We will proceed with your plan, Dr. Carter." Just as the tension reached its peak, the portal device emitted a sharp pulse of energy, and the room seemed to warp and twist. Evelyn felt a strange sensation, as if she were being pulled in multiple directions at once. "Elena, what's happening?" she shouted, her voice barely audible over the cacophony of noise. Elena's fingers flew over the controls. "The device is destabilizing." We need to shut it down now. With a final, desperate effort, Elena managed to deactivate the device. The air shimmered, and the temporal distortions began to subside. The room gradually returned to its normal state, the tension dissipating like mist in the morning sun. The decision had been made, and the younger Evelyn and the other leaders began to implement their plan. The mission continued, their actions laying the foundation for a sustainable and thriving timeline. Evelyn felt a sense of relief and pride as she watched the scene unfold. They had managed to stabilize the anomaly and ensure that the pivotal moment remained intact. Back on the Vanguard, the team reviewed the data they had gathered. The temporal fluctuations had been caused by the portal device's interaction with the critical moment of the mission. By stabilizing the device, they had prevented the anomalies from disrupting the timeline. "This is a significant breakthrough," Elena said, her eyes shining with excitement. "We've proven that we can influence and stabilize temporal events." Evelyn nodded, her mind already racing with plans for their next mission. "We need to continue our work. There are still more anomalies to investigate." The team agreed, their resolve unwavering. They knew that the journey ahead would be challenging, but they were ready to face it, together. As the crew gathered their notes and equipment, Evelyn looked out at the vast expanse of space, her thoughts a mix of relief and anticipation. The anomalies were not just disruptions, they were puzzles, each one bringing them closer to understanding the true nature of time itself. Evelyn turned to her team, seeing the determination in their eyes. "We've come a long way, and we've faced incredible challenges. Each mission, each discovery, brings us one step closer to our goal." Maya, her expression now one of resolve, nodded. "We won't stop until we've secured our timeline and ensured a future for humanity." Elena added, "The data we've gathered is invaluable. We're on the brink of something monumental, and with each anomaly we correct, we're forging a path forward." The Vanguard's engines hummed to life, signaling their readiness for the next journey. As the portal activated, Evelyn felt a surge of hope and determination. They were not just explorers, they were guardians of time, charged with the duty to protect and preserve the delicate balance of their reality. With a final look at her team, Evelyn stepped through the portal, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The mysteries of the universe awaited, and together, they would uncover them, no matter the cost. The Vanguard hummed with a steady rhythm, its journey through time nearing a critical juncture. Evelyn and her team had faced unimaginable challenges, uncovering secrets and correcting anomalies that had threatened to unravel their timeline. Now, they stood on the brink of their final mission, one that would determine the fate of their world. Evelyn stood at the command console, her eyes scanning the data displayed before her. The patterns were clear now, the anomalies converging on a single point in time, the very moment the Vanguard's mission had begun. "This is it," Evelyn said, her voice steady. "The final anomaly is centered around the launch of our mission. If we can correct this, we can stabilize our timeline for good." The team gathered around, their faces reflecting a mix of determination and resolve. They knew that this mission would be their most challenging yet, but they also knew that it was their best chance to secure their future. "Prepare the portal device," Evelyn instructed. "We need to be precise. Any misstep could have catastrophic consequences." As the portal device activated, the air around them shimmered with energy. The familiar sensation of temporal displacement washed over them as they stepped through, emerging into a scene that was both familiar and strange. They found themselves aboard the Vanguard, but in a time that felt distant and uncertain. The ship was bustling with activity, the crew preparing for the launch of their mission. Evelyn's heart ached with nostalgia as she watched her younger self move through the ship, her face alight with the promise of discovery. "We need to observe and intervene only if necessary," Elena whispered, her eyes scanning the room for a suitable vantage point. They found a secluded corner, their presence masked by the shadows. Evelyn watched as her younger self and the other leaders discussed the final preparations for their mission, their voices filled with a mix of hope and caution. "This mission could open up new frontiers for us," the younger Evelyn said, her voice steady but tinged with excitement. "But we must proceed with caution. We don't fully understand the implications of tampering with time." The other leaders nodded in agreement, their faces reflecting the weight of their responsibility. "We need to ensure that we have safeguards in place," one of them said. "The potential for unintended consequences is too great." As the discussion continued, the air shimmered with a familiar energy. The portal device, hidden in the corner of the room, began to pulse with an erratic rhythm. "Evelyn, look!" Elena whispered urgently. "The device is reacting to the temporal anomaly." Evelyn's mind raced. They needed to understand the source of the disruption and stabilize it before it could jeopardize the mission. She turned to her team, her eyes filled with determination. "We need to get closer," she said. "Elena, see if you can get a reading on the device. Maya, cover us." They moved with practiced precision, their movements silent and deliberate. As they approached the device, Elena's equipment hummed softly, gathering data on the temporal fluctuations. "The readings are off the charts," Elena murmured, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It's as if the device is amplifying the temporal anomalies." Evelyn's mind raced with possibilities. If they could stabilize the device, they might be able to prevent the anomalies from affecting the mission. But it was a delicate operation, one that required both precision and speed. "Maya, keep an eye on the room. We can't afford to be discovered," Evelyn instructed, her focus unwavering. Maya nodded, her eyes scanning the room for any signs of movement. "Got it. Just hurry." As Elena worked to stabilize the device, Evelyn watched the decision-making process unfold. The younger Evelyn and the other leaders were locked in a tense exchange, their words laden with implications. "We must prioritize safety and control," the younger Evelyn insisted. "If we don't, we risk creating a temporal disaster." The leaders nodded in agreement, their faces reflecting the weight of their responsibility. "Very well," one of them said. "We will proceed with your plan, Dr. Carter." Just as the tension reached its peak, the portal device emitted a sharp pulse of energy, and the room seemed to warp and twist. Evelyn felt a strange sensation, as if she were being pulled in multiple directions at once. "Elena, what's happening?" she shouted, her voice barely audible over the cacophony of noise. Elena's fingers flew over the controls. "The device is destabilizing. We need to shut it down now." With a final, desperate effort, Elena managed to deactivate the device. The air shimmered, and the temporal distortions began to subside. The room gradually returned to its normal state, the tension dissipating like mist in the morning sun. The decision had been made, and the younger Evelyn and the other leaders began to implement their plan. The mission continued, their actions laying the foundation for a sustainable and thriving timeline. Evelyn felt a sense of relief and pride as she watched the scene unfold. They had managed to stabilize the anomaly and ensure that the pivotal moment remained intact. Back on the Vanguard, the team reviewed the data they had gathered. The temporal fluctuations had been caused by the portal device's interaction with the critical moment of the mission. By stabilizing the device, they had prevented the anomalies from disrupting the timeline. "This is a significant breakthrough," Elena said, her eyes shining with excitement. "We've proven that we can influence and stabilize temporal events." Evelyn nodded, her mind already racing with plans for their next mission. "We need to continue our work. There are still more anomalies to investigate." The team agreed, their resolve unwavering. They knew that the journey ahead would be challenging, but they were ready to face it, together. As the crew gathered their notes and equipment, Evelyn looked out at the vast expanse of space, her thoughts a mix of relief and anticipation. The anomalies were not just disruptions, they were puzzles, each one bringing them closer to understanding the true nature of time itself. Evelyn turned to her team, seeing the determination in their eyes. "We've come a long way, and we've faced incredible challenges. Each mission, each discovery, brings us one step closer to our goal." Maya, her expression now one of resolve, spoke with conviction. "We won't stop until we've secured our timeline and ensured a future for humanity." The Vanguard's engines hummed to life, signaling their readiness for the next journey. As the portal activated, Evelyn felt a surge of hope and determination. They were not just explorers, they were guardians of time, charged with the duty to protect and preserve the delicate balance of their reality. With a final look at her team, Evelyn stepped through the portal, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The mysteries of the universe awaited, and together, they would uncover them, no matter the cost. The Vanguard sailed through the vastness of space, its mission complete but its journey far from over. The crew, now bonded by their shared experiences and triumphs, looked to the future with hope and determination. Evelyn stood at the observation deck, gazing out at the stars. The temporal anomalies had been stabilized, and their timeline was secure. Yet, she knew that the universe was vast and filled with countless mysteries waiting to be uncovered. Dr. Carter, Elena's voice broke the silence. We've received a transmission from Earth. They want to commend us on our success and discuss our next steps. Evelyn turned, a smile playing at the corners of her lips. Thank you, Elena. Let's gather the team. We have much to discuss. As the crew assembled, the atmosphere was one of anticipation and excitement. They had achieved the impossible, but their journey was far from over. There were still uncharted territories to explore, new discoveries to be made, and challenges to overcome. Evelyn addressed her team, her voice filled with pride and determination. We've accomplished something incredible, but our work is not done. The universe is vast and filled with wonders. Together, we will continue to explore, to discover, and to protect our future. The crew cheered, their spirits lifted by the promise of new adventures. They knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. As the Vanguard continued its journey through the stars, Evelyn felt a sense of peace and purpose. The future was theirs to shape, and with her team by her side, she knew that they would rise to any challenge. The stars glittered like distant beacons, guiding them on their path. The universe was vast, and their journey had only just begun.